It's not even city.
You're good.
We'll call this meeting to order. Welcome everybody for coming out this evening. Please remember to silence your mobile devices if you got one. Commissioner Pitts, can I ask you to ask the invocation?
Yes, sir. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be together, dear Lord, and business tonight, God. We ask that your hand be upon this meeting, dear Lord, and that you just help us to make prudent decisions, God, that helps our taxpayers. We thank you for your mercy and goodness, dear Lord, when we so often fall short. And we ask, dear God, that you have your hand upon this county, state, and nation, dear Lord, and just help and guide this nation, dear Lord, to the will that you would have it be. We thank you for your many blessings. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Attention, salute, pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody, please make yourself aware of the ethics, awareness, and conflict of interest reminders. Anybody have any conflicts this evening? Hearing none, we'll move on down. Is there any additions or changes to the agenda this evening?
Mr. Chairman, if it pleases you, I would like to make two additions to the agenda. First of all, I would like to add item 13C, which is a geotech exploration and testing for the Banksville Recreation Center. And then I would like to add item E, which is a new law enforcement center negotiations item.
Put on items for discussion.
Yes.
C with the geotech.
C is geotech and E is law enforcement center site negotiations.
And Mr. Chair.
Second.
And I need a second.
Make a second on those. All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Next.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add on your items for discussion 13D. Key folks call for the Mayland Board per Dr. Boyd's recommendation.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. So please make note, if you're listening in, we'll, for item 13C, a geotech exploration for the rec center. Item D is appointment to the board, Mayland Community College, Keith Holtzclaw. Item E is the law enforcement center site discussion. So please make note of that. Do I have a move we adopt the agenda this evening?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, vote for the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item on the list this evening is the approval of the minutes. I have a motion we approve.
So moved.
Second. Thank you.
Second.
Item number 9A is a public hearing. I have a motion that we move into a public hearing regarding the new subdivision ordinance.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, vote for the usual sign. County manager.
So yeah, as far as the subdivision goes, we wanted to open that up for any discussion points, but it was really a real basic subdivision ordinance that has a lot of exceptions in it if you're dealing with family land, if family land comes onto the general market and the open market, some guidelines just to make it where emergency vehicles can get to the places, erosion control, things such as that. We have here with us today, Tommy Winchester, Misty Sparks, with building inspections. We have Keegan Silvers with mapping. And those three were some of the major players that were providing input into that, that ordinance. So, you know, if there's any questions, anything like that by the board or by those here, you know, we got that open here in this public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, are we officially in the public hearing now?
Yes.
So I haven't been to county commission meetings since like 2007 or whatever.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Don't speak prematurely. The public comment thing, is that what you're doing right now?
No,
No.
that'll be a different time.
But if you wish to speak to anything concerning the ordinances for subdivision, you can do that now.
Okay. Well, I filled out the little public comment card. That's what we're doing now?
No, sir.
Okay.
We're not doing public comments now, but if you're here to address something about the subdivision ordinances that's going to be voted on, now is the time to express those concerns if you have them.
You got questions? or
If
concerns?
you were here for that purpose with the ordinances, then this would be your chance, maybe.
Okay, so I can speak.
Yeah, can you come up to
Sure.
the mic? Thank
How many minutes?
you.
30 minutes.
You'll have, you got 3 minutes.
Okay, I did not come prepared to speak. I came because I had a tremendous interest in subdivision ordinances back beginning around 2002 when we bought property here. And the communities of Penland had first engaged in doing things around Pumpkin Patch and over in the Deer Park Lake area alongside Pine Mountain and then out to the Penning Road. My concerns then are the same as they are now, that the county has been vulnerable to abuse by developers below these many years. Those of you who aren't intimately familiar with what happened with the communities of Penland, it's a very lengthy story, but I know it intimately. And there were a handful of people in this county who were responsible for the communities of Penland before they folded under the demands of the Attorney General's office in North Carolina. They were fined the single largest fine of its kind for environmental violations that has ever occurred in the state before. And one of the reasons they did that was because there were not controls at the county level that would have flagged a whole lot of what they were doing. One example that I will give you, the several hundred acres were developed as subdivisions, and they planted a bunch of Christmas trees and called it organic farming. And as far as the state was concerned, it was designated as farmland. But as far as what happened here in this county and the deeds and what was done, the plats and the like, it was subdivision. This made it real easy for the communities of Penland to not have to be concerned about the kind of controls that you have for erosion control when you build roads, because farmland is handled differently than subdivision ordinances. And so they skirted basically the 1973 Erosion Control, Sedimentation Erosion and Control Act in North Carolina, and could do pretty much what they wanted to. Had we had rules in place that would have flagged what was going on in this subdivision that was being called organic farming for purposes of fostering the scam, it could have been brought to a halt much sooner. And the same is true with their attempts to create a sanitary district in that area over there with that several, about 1,800 acres total. That was another fiasco that proceeded well beyond what I believe it should have, had appropriate controls been in place in this county to prevent that kind of nonsense from going on. And if it hadn't have been for a couple of county commissioners who stood their ground and didn't concede to the next group of county commissioners that came in behind them, that sanitary district would have gone into place, and the ramifications and the fallout from what those people did to this county as far as property values and destruction of some nice land, the way they cut it up. It would have been far worse because they would have left the county and probably the town of Spruce Pine, because of what they wanted to do with water and the like and sewer, holding the bag for an awful lot of money in terms of their attempt to build infrastructure. Well, their attempt to look like they were going to build infrastructure. So anyway, my only familiarity, I only glanced, I think, at one time at what was in the paper regarding this particular subdivision ordinance. My last go around in that arena was when Lloyd Hise put together the subdivision ordinance following the COP debacle. And we had great crowds. Filled up the courthouse, I think, a couple of times in the process. I thought there would be more people here this evening. Apparently, it's not quite going to be stringent enough to arouse enough landowners to come out here and bark and squeak and, you know, make rude comments. County's a beautiful county. This is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And I saw what those people did. Communities defend them, and something needs to be done so that cannot happen again. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. 1 minute? Okay. Fortunately, the bankers stepped in where some of us as locals were not being able to get in the way more than we did. Some of us were physically threatened, but only because of the financial aspect did the Attorney General come crashing down on these guys because of their mortgage fraud. The violations, apart from that, were legion, and they could have been shut down at the county level had the appropriate controls been in place. And I would hate to see that happen again. Thank you.
Thank you.
So what was your name?
Bill Wygan.
Thank you.
I'm just curious, the new
Section
that we're putting in, it would stop that something like that happening going forward, right?
You know, like I said, I didn't come prepared, so I'm not familiar with all the details and what you all are talking about doing. I was familiar with what Lloyd had done, you know.
Lloyd had a lot of oversight on this.
Pardon me?
Lloyd had a lot of oversight in the write-up and the
Yeah.
review of this.
But I have a feeling that a whole lot of what was in the one back in 2007 or whenever it was has probably been diluted somewhat because it met with some very serious resistance then and never got to first base. But I don't know because, like I said, I was unprepared and I apologize for not being better prepared tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate you speaking. Any other comments or concerns from anybody?
I'll just answer the gentleman back. It's a very in-depth ordinance. Multiple pages, a lot of work has gone into this. This does now give the county and the building inspection department teeth, where folks have to follow the rules up front. It's not going to be an afterthought, it's going to be a forethought. So these guys back here for how many months? How much been several?
We started in March.
So quite in depth. I read the whole thing here, still had a lot of free time on my hands because I had knee replacement. So, you know, been able to do a lot of reading that normally I wouldn't, but it's, you know, it actually gives the county teeth that it's never had.
Thank you.
Any questions, concerns? Hearing none, do I hear a motion, we end the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
All in favor, vote the usual sign. Next item on the agenda tonight is 10A for road, public hearing for road management. I have a motion that we go into the public hearing for road management.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, vote the usual sign. So the next one here, pursuant to general statute 6160D-601A, the public will take notice that Mitchell County Board of Commissioners will hold a public hearing on Monday, 8/1/2022 at the regular commission meeting at 7 p.m. at the Mitchell County Administration Building, Commissioners Boardroom located 26 Crimson Laurel Circle, Bakersfield, North Carolina. The purpose of this hearing is to take public comment and input on proposed. Look at the wrong page. The purpose of this hearing is to take public comment and input on proposed ordinance for the county of Mitchell with respect to establishing procedure for the addressing of new and existing structures to include the naming or renaming and signage of roads. The new ordinance will eliminate, duplicate, or phonetically similar street names, provide for the uniform marking of streets and roadways, assign address numbers to all residents and businesses, establish an official map and listing of all streets and roadways in the county, and establish a procedure by which street or roadway may be named or have the existing name changed. A copy of the proposed ordinance under consideration is available for review at mitchellcounty.org or Mitchell County Administration Building. You all may also request a copy by emailing the Mitchell County Manager at manager@mitchellcounty.org. Any questions on this road naming ordinance or concerns?
Tom?
The majority of this has been being done anyway. We have just never had any ordinance to back us up. This is pretty much mandated what we have to do for the 911 communication system. And it's been being done by, like I said, by far the majority of it.
Gotcha.
And we just never had an ordinance to back us up.
So I'll just say too, if you have Donald, if you have an officer call and the name is very similar, it's very easy to have that officer go to the wrong road because that name was very, very similar. So this is going to eliminate that duplication. And, that might be a case of where you're getting, a call for emergency assistance, but it could be just as simple as getting an Amazon Prime shipment correctly sent to your house. So having these road names is important on many different aspects.
Any other questions, concerns from anyone? Do I have a motion to move out of the public hearing?
So move.
Second? All in favor, vote the usual sign. And I want to say too, I didn't read the public hearing notice here on our first public hearing, but if you wanted like a copy of it, you can get a copy of the proposed subdivision ordinance under consideration at mitchellcounty.org or at the Mitchell County Admin Building, or you can also request it from the county manager as well. So anybody out there listening can get you that. The next item on the agenda this evening is the employee of the month. Is the Mitchell County Employee of the Month. Unfortunately, our Employee of the Month can't be here tonight. She is at Bible school at my church, so she's doing good deeds. But I can speak to Lori very well. She is a wonderful woman and does a lot of great things for us over in the elections as the election specialist. And we'll say congratulations to Lori Huskins, election specialist, who is nominated and selected as the Employee of the Month winner for July. This recognition is for going beyond the call of duty and meeting with the voters and the general public needs in the elections department throughout the election process for the county, such as voter registration, changes to registrations, primary election, one stop, preparing for the general election, etc. There are many long days work for weeks at a time in order to meet the needs of voters and requirements of the state elections law. Not once has Lori complained about the long hours. Lori goes above and beyond throughout all of the election process and does what it takes to serve the voters and the general public. On many occasions, the public comes into the elections office upset over various matters and often leave complimenting the manner that Lori has managed the situation. Lori always remains calm and will take extra measures to inform and assist the public. No matter the circumstances, Lori is always respectful, courteous, professional, and goes above to ensure the absolute best for customer service has been provided to every person that comes into the elections office or calls elections. Congratulations on being selected as Mitchell County's Employee of the Month for July. On behalf of the county commissioners in Mitchell County, we thank you for your ongoing excellent service to voters and citizens of Mitchell County. And like I said, I think that sums it up very well for Lori. Anytime you've ever been over there, she's more than helpful. And with the scrutiny that elections get these days, Mitchell, I can say Mitchell County, I feel very confident that we do a good job in making sure that, our votes are protected and accounted for. So, I appreciate everything that they do there. I hate that Lori's not here because I'd love to embarrass her a little bit. But next item on the list tonight. Ms. Bessie,
Good evening.
Hello, Jeff.
hello.
We survived the first day. Well, phone calls.
And you're here first?
Yes.
They ain't over yet.
We're all here. First on the list is the collection report, activity report for July. Total collected was $102,210. Excuse me. So we start our new year. As far as foreclosures, pay plan, we now have 29 people to prevent foreclosures. And there have been 8 sent to county attorney for foreclosure. One is still in stay at the courthouse because of due to bankruptcy. We've actually had 9 paid in full. I think it's you, last month. We had I think it was 6 last month. Yeah, 6 paid in full last month. And we gave 3 more, so they paid for either sales or family came in and paid.
That's great. I think the information that I requested from you, just to share it with everyone, since we started this, we have collected, I want to say it was around $136,000 or something like that dollars that from Mitchell County that had been previously out there. So
It's an additional 13.9 this month.
That's great.
Or July. Prevent that. Of course, we'll continue to work on the debt set off. The 400,000 in there. We're getting payments slowly on it. That's all I have.
any comments or questions for Steve? Yeah, great job. Thank you. Thank you. Ben. I know a lot of work here. Next item on the agenda this evening is public comments. First on the list is Mr. Charles Burles.
Hey,
Hello, John.
3 minutes. my friend.
3 minutes. Hold on before you start counting 3 minutes.
So get the paperwork unfolded.
Yeah, that young lady just left, You might want to come back and listen to me on this. I'm not sure. I guess everybody knows what those are. Everybody gets them. I'm 54-year-old. I'm a Mitchell County resident all my life. I know you got to pay your tax. I know you got, that's what keeps the government running. That's what pays the bills. That's what makes everything go. I understand that. I'm just gonna voice a concern of mine with the board. I have yet to make it to the tax office to voice my concern with this. So, they will be getting a visit from me. But my concern is, first of all, I got billed a late fee from the tax office for not registering, for not filing for this year. Well, I never got a filing notice. I keep all the paperwork. My wife turns all this over to me, so I have to keep it. Never got it, but they charged me a late fee. Okay, so we'll address that. My second concern was, when you get these little papers, and you got appeals will be only accepted through email or mail. When you get these are misleading because it really doesn't tell you exactly everything that your land or your taxes went up by. Your personal properties are exempt on here. Okay, on this little lot. So unless you really do the research, which nobody does, that's why everybody's having such a problem right now on social media with taxes. It's very misleading. When you get this deal, it puts it on black and white. And my concern is, I'm not sure how or where to go with this. You guys might direct me where to go. One thing that's really got me under concern is my mother and father's place. And I'm gonna use this as an example. My dad's 84-year-old, my mom's 77-year-old. They live in a single wide trailer that was built onto in 1973. Was built onto. Nothing else has ever been done to the place since then. I got a roof put on. 2.75 acres. In 2021, it was valued at $42,500 in 2021. The land was valued at $32,000 in 2020. Single wide trailer building. This year, it's valued at $88,000 for the building and $38,000 for the land, which increased their taxes by $300. They're on a fixed income. I take care of most of the taxes for my mom and dad. My concern is what justifies that single wide trailer getting increased $42,000 on a building when there was nothing else done to it. I have a problem with that. I'm voicing my opinion or my concern today. I can go into a lot more things. I'll make it funny about it. I hear the county is interested in spending some money on buying some property. I have some single wide trailers that were valued at $23,000 last year. They're valued at $123,000 this year. Some single wide trailers that I rent that has no additions. My garage building at my house, I've never done anything to the house since I make you ashamed to tell you this, I ain't done no improvements in 20 years. I had a garage building there that was valued at $6,000 forever. They decided this year it's going to be valued at $20,000 for some reason. I'm not living in it, didn't make no changes to it. My concern is with the tax office. I just wanted to voice that to you about my mom and dad's place. Concerned about the Mitchell County, the elderly people. Times is hard right now. Gas, fuel, heat. And then you start doubling the taxes. A lot of people ain't got children paying the taxes for them and helping them out. And I don't know if it'll help in any way, shape, or form now, since things already been written black and white. That's my concern. And I appreciate the board letting me speak tonight.
Thanks, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
Charlotte, do you know if your mom and dad qualify for the elderly exemption here in the county? You happen to know?
They've got it set in a life estate. I'm not sure. I think mom's pretty good at stuff like that. I'm not sure on that part.
If you ask Stacy at the tax office, she can tell you for sure.
Yeah, I just, I tried to get everything that mama will release to me, put in my name. Just take the word out of it. She's got this in a life estate. She's got it really deeded to my sister. So I'm not sure.
They would still be eligible.
Yeah.
With it in a life estate like that.
Well, I don't know. Is that based on income? Yeah, I think mom and dad retired from Vulcan. And I think mom's like $600 above the threshold on everything. If I ain't mistaken.
Keep in mind too, not just for you, but for anyone else listening too, if you're disabled or over a certain age or so forth, always reach out to the tax office.
Or a veteran.
Or a veteran.
You know, I knew about that, and I have spoken to my mom, but I'm thinking that she is financially just right above the cutoff on that.
Those guidelines ever change, Blair?
It's hooked to the cost of living adjustment for Social Security. So
But
this coming year, the income threshold is 33,800.
33,800 is the threshold for that one year.
Is that household, Blair, or individual?
Household.
Also. Thank you, Joe.
But I will be talking to mom about that. Thank you, Laura, for bringing that up. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda tonight. Bill, did you want to? I figured that was.
I can go on more.
That's completely up to you. If you're good, then we will move on to item number 13A. 33. Yes, yeah, 12 board comments, yeah.
Yeah, I normally say board comments to the end, but I'd like to go ahead and say this now since we've got some employees here. Finance, like I said, I've had a lot of free time the last 4 weeks. Of my knee surgery. And I want to brag on Mitchell County, their department heads, and our 150 employees. And this administration building, and especially Mavis and your staff. The department operation budget report came out. Every department in Mitchell County was under budget, guys. And since 2020, we've been in testing. COVID with different things. And the services that we provide have not dropped any at all. Not a bit. And I just wanted to say thank you guys for your hard work. Say this to all the employees that work here for your dedication. But we came in at 94.9% of the budget, which saved Mitchell County this year $633,000 is what we came in under the budget for every agency that we fund. And that speaks highly of everybody that works here. You know, from the folks in the administration building, law enforcement, building inspection, finance, landfill, everything. So, you know, I just wanted to put that out there. I know there's a lot of controversy right now, a lot of questions because of the rebound. And, you know, your tax rate, your taxes going up, the tax rate didn't go up. We actually lowered the tax rate. But the rebound couldn't have come at the worst time for us either, guys. Because all of a sudden, Mitchell County, Yates County, Avery County, small communities became very popular for people that wanted to get out of the city. And they came here and they paid 1.5 times, 2 times, 3 times what a piece of property was worth. And basically what that's done, that's affected everybody, every citizen in Mitchell County that pays taxes. That's affected all of us for the next 4 years. But again, thank you to the employees. That's all.
Any other board comments?
I would just like to mention in relation to Mr. Burleson's comments about taxes and what Commissioner Hardy has said. What he said is exactly right. It was based on home sales. The reval was all based on home sales over the last 5 years.
Really mainly the last 18 months.
So the last 18 months, and we all know homes have sold for double and triple of the worth. But I would remind everyone, go see the tax office, go speak to the collector, the assessor, anyone there. There's a lot of different options for taxes. You can set up a payment plan. There is disability exemptions, elderly exemptions. They'll work with you any way they can. And I know it hurts. I know it hurts. Irregardless of what people think, we pay our taxes on this board too. And I have to pay mine monthly. So go see the tax office. They'll do anything they can to help you within legal realm of ability.
Next thing on the list tonight is item number 13A. A letter requesting to dissolve mineral rights. Mr. Blair Hyde.
So I had a phone call and then subsequently got a letter from this taxpayer. The owners have long been deceased. They have no idea where they're at. I don't have a deed reference for them. So, unless we do a title search or something, I don't know. We can prove they even know them anyway. So they've asked for us to remove the tax rolls.
Explain that just a
Do
little
what?
bit.
It's mineral rights somewhere up in the Muleydene area. And the two owners that are listed on the record are both deceased and have long since been deceased. And the lady that's been paying the taxes on it is a daughter to one of them. And they don't know where they're at. We don't have a deed reference on them. So,
You're talking about the deed for the mineral rights.
right,
Gotcha.
She's paying taxes on the deed for the mineral rights only.
right.
So Blair, I'm sorry, just because I'm a layman, she's not, the mineral rights have nothing to do with the land. It's the rights to
Right.
extraction of the resources. So why would she continue to pay for these if we relinquish, why not just stop paying for them if
Well, and they live in Wilmington, so
what kind of fee are we talking about?
what they're valued at $8,000.
So the minerals are valued at $8,000 and the tax bill is $8,000.
No, the minerals are valued at 8,000.
So there's
For a mile.
Not to my knowledge, we don't have any idea where they're at.
But she doesn't own the property anymore, or she does own the property.
She just owns the mineral rights.
Just the mineral rights to the property, but not the property itself.
okay.
Well, I mean, I don't have a deed, so I can't begin to tell you what she owns.
And so has she been paying the property taxes?
Right. And we've actually got a few of them that I think have been carried forward for years and years, and nobody's paid the taxes for a decade. So I don't, we don't have any way of finding these people, and truthfully, don't have any idea where the minerals were located. Because they were severed.
Will she still own the property at the end of the day?
If she's got a deed for it, but she doesn't know where the deed is, and we don't either.
Well, I hate to sound totally dumb and confused, but I am. she wants relinquished from paying taxes on the mineral rights, but she's still
pretty
gonna
much-
own the property.
Well, she's pretty much saying that, you know, we don't know where the deed is, she doesn't know where the deed is. She doesn't want anything to do with it, and we're billing her every year.
So she's not gonna claim stake to any property or acreage.
Right.
Can we make her pay for a title search and then once we understand it fully, who owns the property?
I don't know that I would go down that road.
Yes, Charlie.
Got a question?
I'd solve it. I'll take the land, and I'll pay the taxes on it.
Well, it's just,
You just said taxes too high.
No, hey, listen. I said I'll pay my fair share tax.
it's not,
If she's having trouble paying her taxes, I'll take the land, and I'll pay the taxes on it.
it's just mineral rights, it's not the land itself. That's the only,
Who owns the land?
But that's where I'm confused.
no idea.
Huh?
So she's not saying I own the land.
What happens is, you know, with real estate, it's a bundle of rights. So this is just one stick in that bundle of rights. And they were severed so long ago that the ownership for the surface has probably changed hands 20 times since then. And it may have been subdivided or something like that, so it's hard to find them. I mean, people really don't know where they're at.
Do we
I
have
don't
several?
know the title search would find.
Right. Because it was probably way beyond 30 years ago.
It would be, title search don't go back. Like the 30 years later. She's been paying for 20,
Right,
so I'd say 30 is a very safe.
right. And it probably came down to the family before that, so
Blair, do we have several people throughout the county that pay a mineral right tax?
we did. We've actually got one that's delinquent right now that would be my opinion that the county should foreclose on. I do know what those are.
When you're the landlord, we are. Just send them on over to that gentleman sitting back there.
Okay.
So what's your recommendation here?
Well, I mean, without us having a deed to point to, I don't know the way the law's written for listing that we can really pursue it any further.
So I'd say it'd be safe to say that we're not talking about a whole lot of money per year.
But when, with that said, when's the last time it was reassessed? I mean, if,
Well,
do we know what kind of mineral, I mean, did they
It's
reassess?
part of the reappraisal too, yeah.
And we have an address, right?
Yes.
So we're just gonna say, okay, you don't have to pay these taxes anymore,
Well,
but you could still own the property, we just don't know.
On the mineral rights.
So
it's just mineral rights.
So they own the piece of property. I own the surface, but I may, if there was oil underneath it, I may not own the oil, somebody else can pump the oil out. And
And it causes a nightmare for, you know, underwriters and things like that.
Blair, didn't that used to be popular years ago that people
It
would
was.
buy them, and it's not as popular
It's
now.
not now.
But this is years ago, it was popular that people would sell their mineral rights.
The mining companies don't want that multi-layered, you know,
they were
business
buying-
arrangement. I mean, they would prefer to own a fee and
By
do.
the land, right?
Right.
So for example, like, I was talking to Keegan over there in, up on the road, Reynolds Aluminum Company bought, what, 10,000 acres worth of mineral rights from General John Wilder, who owned the Cloudland Hotel,
It was about 50,000.
or 50,000. So what happened was, when that was sold to Reynolds, they retained the rights to the land underneath what you own. If you bought land in that region, they retained rights to the mineral. So if you went in there and you come upon a very valuable gem mine and you decided to mine in there, you did not have rights to that. You might have a little bit of surface rights, but you did not have rights to go in there and get that. They would be entitled to the profits if we kind of understand that right. So that was disconnected from the surface rights. And it was done a long time ago. And so I'm assuming that's probably how that situation's laid out over here in BOD.
Right, and historically, the General Assembly has several times passed a bill that, I think the last time was in the 80s, that said that if you didn't come forward to the tax office and list your mineral rights, then they went away. And it would be kind of nice if they did that again. It would clean up title issues for property and our records too.
Could we not say to this lady, we're open to this, but we would like for you to produce a deed proving that you own this property?
Well, that's the problem, but we don't have the deed, neither does she.
So she wants to relinquish them because she can't sell these mineral rights. If
She
she
just
wants
doesn't have
to,
any interest.
Well, she can't sell the property either, right?
you sell the property, not.
She don't know she owns it.
She don't have.
Well, I'm inclined to table this, just
I'd like,
for clarity's sake.
Okay.
I'd like to learn a little bit more about it. I think my own experience with this is based on the movie There Will Be Blood, so. I keep thinking of that quote, the long straw, so I want to learn a little more about it.
All right.
Have motion on the floor to table. Second. All in favor, vote by usual sign. Discussion. We talking about like 40 some bucks there, like 40 some dollar tax bill. We do a budget report to give us some clarity on this.
Can you see what you can figure out?
I'll bring in the TV
No,
so
I
you
ain't
can
gonna-
kind of
no,
put it
I
on
ain't
a visual
gonna-
board.
Charlie's gonna find out who it is and buy it from. He said he might buy it for $45.
Can you give Charlie her phone number?
Courtroom AV projects, project size, there next item for discussion this evening.
I can speak to it. Basically, it's a memorandum of agreement, and the administrative office of the courts is now bringing folks in to the courtroom virtually. So let's say, for example, we have a person who is in the jail in McDowell County, and they need to report. Well, they can now they can go in via video transmissions into our courtroom, and that can be done. So the administrative office of the courts is giving the Mitchell Court Systems a grant, but part of getting the grant for the TVs for the actual installation is we have to provide the cable. And to cable that properly is very specified. And so they have, from the administrative office of the courts, they've given us a memorandum of agreement for courtroom cabling for remote proceedings. And basically, if you want to read over that, it is telling us, that we have to pay for the cost of the cable and the cost of the labor to install the cable in the courthouse. And that cost will be, pulled out here now, all said $6,000, $6,013. That will include the labor and the cost of the cable. And it's all itemized here on that, on the printout in your agenda packet, but basically, we're looking at pretty high cost on the footage of cable because there's a lot of cable doing that, and specking out labor is running at about 2,600, and then the rest of that 6,000 is related to supplies, and so.
Can you request two quotes, or is that just one person?
So it's not the option of what we can line up someone to come and do it. But this is, if we wanted to spec it out against the quote, they said you can do that option, but I looked at it pretty hard And it would be my advice to go with this memorandum of agreement. I talked to maintenance, and said, what is the options in there as far as what that would look like? And they said that it's gonna be really hard to beat that.
I'll be referred to. And you want them to do it because the office of the courts, the state basically is coming in and doing it. You'd rather, they expect it out of their engineers and their technicians. And if we go in there and touch it and it don't work, then they're gonna say, well, you did it wrong.
You get using a approved vendor, right?
Right, so
It's really important.
It'd be better to let them do it.
This is a nice way of them saying, do this.
Yeah.
We do need a motion on this because the MOA does require that.
What does this have to do with the video system that we have downstairs in Janet's office? The first I heard about it too was the email that you sent out.
So this is bringing it, so we got one.
It's still bringing up
This
in
is bringing it into
courtroom.
the courtroom. We're gonna have like a 75, 85-inch TV facing the jury box. And then we'll have another one. I think I looked at the plan. There's gonna be 2 TVs brought in to the actual courtroom.
Aren't they doing this all over?
And they're doing it all over the state.
I would think too, it's something we're gonna have to have.
is.
Surprise me.
Yeah, so
That, Donald, you should check after they do this to see if you can get rid of that other system we have. Do we need to? I don't know, that's something that.
I don't know. We use that whenever we're doing video first appearances, from the jail, and Janet does it.
Yeah.
If the judges will allow us to start doing it on that way will be great. Our only problem I see is if whenever we go to do it, is McDowell gonna have the time to do it.
Well, I don't think they're gonna have a choice. All the way.
But they'll be doing McDowell's.
That's what I was, this is a state thing.
Yeah, all courthouses will be done.
But will McDowell be like,
Oh, no, I don't know.
sounds like we just need a motion to, you got a motion, you got a second?
Second.
Vote the usual sign. Motion to purchase the Cat 6. Next item on the agenda this evening is the item 13C, the geotech exploration.
yes, sir. I'll speak to that one as well. So today we had Catawba Valley Engineering come out and look at our rec center site, and one of the requirements to build is to start getting some geotech. And so that, if you look at the engineering testing, board asked that we kind of move forward on that. They will be drilling a series of 10 holes. Yeah, that's what I was looking on there to make sure on there. So about 10 holes. It is a cost of approximately about $8,000. But that is required to get that deal done. That's also not local funding. That is going into that project. That is state funds through grants. So I do want to make sure that's clarified. But that is part of moving forward, is making sure our site is going to hold what we need to put on there.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to move forward with geotech engineer.
All in favor, vote the usual sign. Motion carries.
I was gonna ask, this is the same company that we spoke with about on hospital.
Yes, they're contracted into the architect.
Okay. That is correct.
Item number 13D is appointment for Keith Holtzclaw to the Mainland Community College Board.
I'll make that motion.
I second that motion.
All in favor, vote the usual sign. Any opposed?
And I just want to say that in light of the update from Dr. Board at our last meeting, I'm voting no to Heath Colsall being reappointed to the Mainland Board, because I think there should be limits to the amount of time you can serve on the board. And I would like to see someone appointed that will hold Mainland more accountable for education instead of economic development.
You have comments or anything on that? Item number 13E is the law enforcement center negotiations.
And I'll just speak to that briefly. We're trying to maybe start some discussions on acquiring a property for the law enforcement center. Once again, the acquiring of that property is will be done via grant funds, not local funds. So just FYI.
Next motion.
I second the motion.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Carries. Next item on the agenda this evening is the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Second.
All in favor, vote by the usual sign. Motion carries. Next item is the finance officer's report.
And one little report tonight, I'm really not, since we talked finances last time, I'm not going to talk about that because it's just the first day of the month and I'm still working on numbers to close out last month. But I do have an item we need to talk about and need to get a decision on. And this goes back to, we were talking budget and doing capital needs. I don't know if everybody remembers or not. Senior citizens, when we talked to them, they had, I think, 4 projects. One was paving, which was put down the road several years, but the 3 projects they had was to fix the retaining wall behind the building, to build a portico at the end of the building, so when they did drive-through meals, that those folks could stay in, out of the rain and the snow and the weather. And 3 was to do some type of generator to run the kitchen and the dining room when the power was out or whatever the needs were. Due to limits on budget, we decided, the board decided to prioritize those projects, and the only project that made the budget was the retaining wall, and it was the boulder wall versus the more expensive.
Cut face block.
Okay, don't know that terminology, but anyway, so we appropriated $22,500 to do that retaining wall with the boulder method. Now, she had said at the time that she was also applying for money from some of the ARPA funds that would be coming down through AAA, through High Country, down to senior citizens that were part of the AAA district. She found out this afternoon she did get funded. She got $66,601. She came in this afternoon, Ms. Garland did, and this is her request. She would like to retain the $22,500 that's been appropriated in the budget, take part in the $66,000, and she would like to do the more expensive wall, which you called what, Jeff?
Cut face block.
Okay, then she would still have enough money to do the portico, which is about $29,000. And then she would also have enough money to do the generator that would just service the kitchen and the dining room, not the entire center, just the kitchen and the dining room. So with the $66,601 and the $22,500 that we appropriated her, she could do all 3 projects this year.
What was the price difference on those walls, Max?
One was $22,500, the other one was $42,250. So I guess the question I need a consensus from the board on which projects we do want to do. Do we want to, now that she's got $66,601, do we want to spend that first before we dip into the $22,500? Do we want to put it all together? Do we want her to do the more expensive wall? Or do we want her to still do the $22,500 wall? I don't know. What?
Just an expert on the walls. I mean, Jeff.
My recommendation on the wall would be to go with a fieldstone boulder wall. It's gonna be there forever. It's gonna look just as nice. It's not gonna take up any more of her driver parking. You know, and I'd express this to her. I mean, it's her project. cut face block wall is a poured concrete block. Well, over the years, concrete's gonna break down pretty quick, and it's not a solid wall. They're about 18 and a half, 19 inches long, about 12 inches tall, about 8 inches thick.
Are they the, help me out here, Jeff, are they the blocks that have the notches that lock
Yeah.
together?
They are.
So the boulder wall would look more natural.
The boulder wall will look more natural, shouldn't have any problem out of the boulder wall. Maybe not in our lifetime, or especially us sitting on this board, on this girl being a director, she's not gonna have any problem out of that face block wall, but eventually she will. If you notice the old Calmia clinic, they used to cut face block wall, and when that changed over to Safe Place, a lot of that had to be torn out and redone because it was broken down over 22, 25 years.
Does that boulder walls, they got like a netting, like a wire mesh netting, or?
It will, same aspect that
It's
you would
behind the
have.
credit union. Is that right?
No,
No?
it's a nice fieldstone boulder wall, different size boulders back, and that's level across the top. But it will have, it's a plastic netting, it's the same thing you use with a block wall, ever so many feet, you have to put the grid in, backfill with gravel so much, and that's what you call as your dead man. That allows the wall not to move.
So if you was building it, you'd go with the boulder wall.
You can't
Gosh, yeah.
you can't even see this wall except from if you're behind the building,
You
right?
go around behind the
Yeah.
building, and what she's wanting to do, she's got a cross tie wall there now.
I sure it's crossed.
She wants to take that cross tie wall out and go back 10 feet in the bank, so she can have a double lane going around through there. Or drive through service, and, put up the wall. Tommy, I'd have to go back and look and see, 38 inches, 42 inches, what was it?
I don't think it's actually put on here. You've got, this is, it don't say.
I know why you're asking.
It has to be engineered.
Yeah,
I guess I'm inclined to say the $22 county and do the cheaper wall generator and portico on the grant. Personally, I would have the rest.
Yeah, I mean, the wall that's behind the building, I don't see. Let me ask you this question, Davis, on the generator. Why they only want to do a generator for the kitchen?
Well,
Is
the
this
generator
for
to
the
do the
refrigerator?
entire building is gonna be about 42,000. Hold on just a second. She was trying to, yeah,
I
to
assume
do,
we're
to do the more expensive wall, she was gonna do the less expensive generator. If she does a generator for the entire building, it's $41,820 versus if she just does it for the kitchen area, to be on backup generator power, it would be $12,250.
And I assume the thought process is if she just does the generator for the kitchen, they can still operate and serve food.
Like the
Right.
Meals on
It
Wheels.
Like
takes
the
care of
Meals
the
on
free.
Wheels and do
And-
the emergency food.
Yeah, and I mean, I've been a pro advocate for a generator out there for years, and I think Tommy and some of us have talked about it over the years. There's been numerous times the power's out in that area, and there's been numerous times we've had to either lose food out of those freezers, or we've even taken it to use the school freezers when they've had space. We've even used church freezers when they've had space. It's not happened recently as much as it used to, but it used to be an almost every month issue with power out there, and we've not had it as much. But when there is no power, that means you can do no in-dime service or no Meals on Wheels service.
Yes, sir.
That is a three-phase electrical service bill. With the kitchen only, they can go in a single-phase generator.
That's good.
That's why it costs,
It's
Big
so
difference in the
different.
price.
and at one panel, right beside the existing three-phase, you can put everything on that single phase that's in the kitchen, all the freezers and all.
okay, I'm gonna put you on the spot. Would you, to this board, with your recommendation, generate the whole building or generate part of the building?
My recommendation personally would be take care of the freezer.
Yeah, and that's the critical
Because
part.
you're not there 24/7.
Okay, so if she goes with the cheaper wall, and she can build a, I'm gonna call it a canopy outside, and goes with a smaller generator, the $66,000 will cover every bit of that, so we won't have to use any of the $28,000.
Actually, those three things, if we go with the smaller wall, or the, whatever, bolder wall, the smaller generator, and the 29,962.79, that's actually, she's gonna have about $1,888 left, which would hopefully, if we have any cost overruns on any of these, or run into any issues, especially with that generator installation, we would have just a little bit of money left over. So those three come to $64,712.79. And again, these quotes were done back in February and March when we first started working on capital for the county. So we would have to go back to these low bidders again and verify that there's not been any change in, they can still do it for the
Electrical
price
has
they
gone
quoted. Huh?
Electrical has gone up. So that cost-
So there could be a little bit of extra cost in that, you know, that $1,888 could cover any extra costs. But these were the projects that she had submitted to High Country for grant funded. And they did approve them, and we just now found about the money, so. I just want what the board, consensus of the board is, what I need to tell her on how we want to proceed with.
Entertain a motion. Anybody wants to make a motion?
I said whatever I said.
I think we got a motion on the floor to use the grant fund money only to do the cheaper rock wall, do the smaller generator, and then the canopy,
Portico.
the portico. And I would just add and save the 22,000 county dollars. I would just say this based on the age of those quotes, that the county dollars would be available if we did have a.
Overrun.
Yeah. I think as a form of motion.
Second.
So second, everybody, vote usual sign, motion carries.
That's what we will do, and, I'm gonna go back to something that Jeff said 1 second, because I don't think Jeff was here last.
I was zoomed in.
You zoomed in.
They beamed me down.
Then you heard the comment I made about, you know, where we did last year's budget, we were 1.6 in the red. And we were looking at, and what you talked about tonight was 6,600 some, is one of the reasons that we have saved and not going to use the 1.6. The other reason is we had a lot more revenue in excise tax from all the transfers of real estate and inspections because of all the extra inspections they had to do. So those things are a combination of why we're going to use about half of that versus the whole thing. So it was a combination of savings plus additional
I'm
revenue.
still very proud of you.
Well, I appreciate it, Jeff. All right, unless anybody has any questions, that's all I needed to find out.
Next time on the Fort County manager.
Yes, I'll just go over a few things here, just keeping y'all up to date. We, Blair, Egan, myself met with, the McDowell County manager, their tax assessor and their mapper. Back on July 20th to look at the McDowell-Mitchell line, which had not been surveyed since the forming of Mitchell County in 1861. So it's been a little while. So the official from the state geodetic survey has been doing some studies. They have spec'd out a line with through a third party. So in the future, board, we'll be looking to adopt that geodetic study so we can have a definite line between at least about 7-mile section of McDowell and the Mitchell County line. So that's pretty cool. That's neat to finally get that fixed up after 1861. So
Alan, do you know, will this eliminate, this may not be a question to answer, but will that eliminate property owners who have part of the property down, part of Mitchell? Will it
that's a
be one
great
or the other?
question, Commissioner Pittman. So yeah, that's my exact question to Blair. Blair, could you field that real quick, buddy?
So I've got a file in my office that has correspondence between the two counties going back to the 80s. This has been an issue. And quite honestly, I don't know what the rationale was that the two counties used to decide who they were going to tax. You know, based on several renditions of that line, we're carrying houses that are clearly in McDowell County. McDowell County's carrying houses that are clearly in Mitchell County. We started this process in 2009. And as it moves forward, they're going to monument that line. And so that, you know, survey work and things like that are a little more accurate in that area.
I keep thinking back to that one case that we had in our board where like a sliver of this man's property was in. Yeah, so will that go away?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been an issue for a long time, and it should have been addressed a lot sooner than the next.
So that property's gonna be now having a definite line through there. And as far as what you say on tax, property taxes, it's basically a wash. You know, we're not losing property tax, we're not gaining property tax. It's probably just right in the zone of break even.
Will seem like an awful headache for those folks to be like.
Yeah, they need debt.
They have to pay,
Not just
pay
for
taxes
this.
here and in McDowell both.
Yeah,
It's been a headache for us too.
It's a
Well,
headache
will
for the
this
state.
solve the issues of like the homes on Apple Mountain where you literally cross over Mitchell County back into McDowell County?
it does not solve that
I just
issue.
think
That
it'll solve
issue,
that.
we are still, we're still, that border is correct there, yet those properties are only accessed via Mitchell County. So that has not been addressed.
That
by
was-
this
We have Henson Creek.
Henson's Creek's that way, yeah.
Yeah, there's-
Well, that's it, Mitchell
Yeah.
County. That's geographically.
All right, a couple more bullets and we'll move on along here. No, hey, that's good questions. I think our citizens need to know. On July 26th, attended the Mitchell Ag Extension Advisory Council meeting, and basically, you know, we're looking for an extension director, and my ask, and I've talked to the board individually on this, is to make sure we have Mitchell County representation of stakeholders in the interview process, and so we're working with them on that. Commissioner Harley Masters, Commissioner Brandon Pittman, and myself met with the North Carolina Chief Justice Paul Newby, came into the new Mitchell County Courthouse at 8:30 in the morning on July 27th. And then Commissioner Brandon Pittman and myself attended the High Country Council of Governors Digital Inclusion event. And basics of that, and I know Steve had mentioned that through going to the High Country meeting. We're going to be looking at trying to make sure what are the needs of digital inclusion in Mitchell County. By that, I mean internet access, maybe. It could be anything about technology education. Are there certain groups that do not have that? So High Country has a Dogwood Health $75,000 grant. When they build a plan and the board approves that plan, then we will get to have that grant to implement that plan. So that's a little bit of money towards working with internet, high-speed access, maybe education.
And by,
Yeah, go ahead.
and we just think about education for is like our senior citizens that, you know, often prone to scams and those things that might be an app that we can use to kind of help teach that segment of our population about technology.
That's really, it was a good meeting.
Yeah.
We have researched the potential to move the existing house from the new middle school property in Ledger. NC DOT will not permit a house move if the height of the total height of the move exceeds 14 feet. So if you got a trailer, you got this house on, and it's 2 to 3 foot tall on the trailer, and the house is, let's say, 12 foot tall, well, you're at 15 feet. Right now, DOT will not permit anything exceeding 14 feet total on that. Now, you might get a permit if it was within a mile and you weren't going under an overpass, but it's still a big deal to do that. I'm I went to the house, measured it, in its state is that it's in right now from the bottom of the floor joist to the top of the roof. We're sitting right at 14 feet. So putting it on a trailer is gonna make that, exceed that by a pretty good amount. Now, the floor joists in the house are some really nice looking rough sawn, hemlock 2x10s. I don't know, Board, I was thinking about maybe, us looking at the salvage of that building combined with the demolition of the building. As much as I hate to say it, I don't know that a move is going to be feasible. There's a couple of things to that, but I mean, if you want me to list it to see if someone would like to move it, I can still try that. But Lloyd Heiss and myself thought that it might be better just to try to do a salvage and demolition.
Yeah, it sounds like.
And it'd have to be a short move because the width of the house appears. You can't, you can't cut it half the way it's laid out. So you have to block 2 lanes of traffic. Now, just taking it right down the street where old boy Seafood is at, that'd be a great situation.
Exactly. If there was a place that was
But
really
you take
close
it to
by,
Spruce Pine, you take it to Place, we got problems.
not gonna work. But I want y'all to be thinking on that. I won't ask you anything on that right now. We have a lot of.
He'll move it for you.
Yeah,
Um,
don't be incorrect.
He'll move it for you.
I got one final thing and then I'm done with county manager report. So I want to pass a note of recognition to a Mitchell County citizen who assisted EMS. I know Bryant had passed this on. So about last month, a tree fell blocking an ambulance during an emergency call. So while the ambulance was at the call, a tree fell. Dispatch said that, the nearest means of getting that tree out was probably 30 minutes away. So a citizen, Alan Miller, used his chainsaw to cut the tree out of the road, and that helped in that situation. So, you know what, we got citizens like that don't even get recognized. They'll see something and they'll do it. But just that situation right there, dude got out there, did it, helped someone else out. That's awesome. Thank you, Alan Miller. You don't ring a bell to me. I might know you might have crossed paths, but hey, I just want to put that at the end of that to say thanks to Alan Miller for doing that. And that's all of the county manager report.
Anything from the returning list this evening?
Nothing from this, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
The next item on the agenda tonight is a closed session. Mitchell County Board of Commissioners will hold a closed session in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 to establish or to instruct public body staff or negotiate agents concerned with position to be taken by, on behalf of the public body and negotiated the price and other material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property by purchase, option, exchange, or lease. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Second.
For the closed session, I believe we were inviting Lloyd Heiss and county manager, county attorney, and clerk of the board.
Thank you, ladies.